welcome back, or welcome. I'm going to be channeling Archangel Ariel, and in the little discussion I had with them before we started, they asked me to channel eyes open. This is something that I do regularly, but that I don't do regularly for others. I've always thought it made it clearer that I was channeling when I had my eyes closed, but it's definitely something I need to work on, and they are always pushing me to do the work I need to get better. So, here goes. Greetings, everyone. We are Archangel Ariel, coming to you now from under this beautiful tree, on this beautiful grass, in this beautiful spot, sharing with you from across time and space and realities. Many different realities will be receiving this message. Doesn't sound very straightforward, but to us it is. Each of you is creating, every moment, all the time, your own reality. You walk through each other's realities, next to each other's realities. Your realities get very close and share space, but nevertheless, it is always your own reality that you inhabit. Nothing can change that. And so, from the non-physical realm, we share this message with you. You all who are inhabiting your own unique realities. Now, let's explain a little more about this concept. For your own comfort, for your own sanity, and also due to some agreements you made before you arrived here, most of your realities appear, and in fact are, very much alike. You have gravity, you have the cycle of day and night, you have time, you have 4 dimensions. These are important agreements set down long ago, as you would see it, so that you could experience certain things in a certain way, so that you could grow in certain ways that you can't without 4 dimensions, and that you can't without especially time, but also the solidness of the other 3 dimensions of physical reality. What you'll find as you examine yourself within, and as you change the way you think and the way that you feel on a more consistent basis, is that you do very clearly, very obviously, create the reality around you. Again, there are things, there are constants that you can shift, but are very difficult to shift, and are likely unnecessary to shift. But the vast majority of the reality around you is created and manipulated, controlled by you. You're already doing this. You don't necessarily know that you're doing it. You don't necessarily know the extent to which you are doing it, but you're doing it nonetheless. Part of why we are here is to help expose you to this idea, to help expose your control of reality to you, to aid you in adjusting, tweaking your reality until it is more to your liking, and doing so in a way that is fun and easy and that feels better to you perhaps, in all likelihood, than the way that you've been living so far on your own. Jared was always very interested in the law of attraction, very interested in this idea that he was living in a dreamlike world, and that like dreams, this world could be controlled, manipulated, and shifted into something more beautiful, more perfect, because after his first few weeks or maybe months of creating in his life more money, more fun, more sex, more of the delicious things that he enjoyed, he realized that there was a shorter way, a shortcut, and that all he really wanted was to feel better, to love more deeply, to connect more deeply with God, with Source, and to be more himself, to spend more of his time as the loving presence that he knew himself to be underneath all experience and all other understanding of who he was. That was the moment that we knew that we would be working with him. That was when we knew our journey together had started for certain. You see, it had always been designated that Jared would work with us in this lifetime, if you will. But, free will being what it is, he has complete control, and can at any time decide that he will no longer be working with us, or that he's not interested in working with us, or he could get caught up in a career or a family that takes him completely away from spiritual endeavors. And that would be fine. That would be most fine. But when he realized exactly what it was that he wanted, and it was so in line with who we are, who angels are, who Source is, and what God is, we knew there was no going back. There would be no negotiation. There would be no permanent delaying of this work. He's done very well to delay this work in the short term. But in the long term, there was no stopping it. What we want you to hear most from us today is that you are perfect. You are powerful. You are love. You are guided and connected. You are spiritual consciousness, spiritual beings incarnated into a three-dimensional physical experience. You are a non-physical consciousness who has dipped its face into the physical world, not dissimilarly to how when you put on a scuba mask and dip your face into a pool, you can now see and experience what occurs in the water below with great clarity, while the vast majority of your body floats above the surface, or is perhaps out of the water entirely. You are a non-physical consciousness that has, so to speak, dipped its face into the three-dimensional world. And where that consciousness dips into the three-dimensional realm, around it, it attracts a three-dimensional body. It attracts three-dimensional senses. It holds a vibration and begins to attract a three-dimensional reality to it. It attracts a story. It attracts a linear timeline that involves birth and life and growth and experience. And that's when the real fun begins, because at the moment of birth, you begin to rapidly forget everything you knew before your birth, everything you knew before you became a physically incarnated being. And as you forget, the potential widens. You see, if you brought through with you a to-do list, a spiritual to-do list from your non-physical life, you would say, I need to experience poverty, I need to experience growth due to lack, I need to experience loss, I need to experience 1 and 2 and 3, so that I can grow, so that I can take another look at these ideas that I have explored previously, but there's more, I know there's more there for me to learn. And your life would be prescribed, and you truly couldn't learn. It would be like living through a movie that you knew was a movie, that you knew wasn't real, and so there was no risk, there would be no fear, there would be nothing to overcome, because nothing would seem real. In forgetfulness, you look around you and you say, this is all I know. Clearly, this is real. This is reality. And it's in that recognition and in that assumption that you begin to have the depth of experience that you came here to have. So many enlightened beings on a spiritual path stop and say, why? Why did I have to forget? Why must I be forgetful? And this is why. So that you can have the depth of experience that you wished for when you came here. So that you could truly live through things. So that you can have obstacles that truly need to be overcome. So that you can get beaten down and rise up. So that you can forget that you are a piece of God. And therefore live believing you are not a piece of God. Then choose to live as a piece of God. In the non-physical realm, you were connected to God. You knew your connection. You knew yourself as a spiritual being. You knew yourself as perfect, as part of a whole. You knew no separation. And from that place, it is difficult to grow. It's difficult to change. It's difficult to become more than complete oneness. How could there be more? It's difficult to acquire depth beyond the way you already are. Coming here allows a narrowing of your view, and from this narrow place, it's like looking at your life through a crack in your fingers. And from there, it's much easier to make preferences. I see this tiny thing in front of me. I really, really don't like this thing. Now I know what I do like because I know what I don't like. Now I'm in a new situation. I'm looking at it from a very specific way. I'm understanding things from a very specific subset of who I am. I'm exploring this very narrow character that I have built. Imagine knowing yourself as an infinity of ideas and understandings and this cosmically connected being. And then saying, well, what if I lived life as a blind poet in ancient Sumeria? What could I learn from that? What could I learn from living as a poor farmer in medieval England? What could I learn being a king of kings? What could I learn ruling a nation? What could I learn living on the streets in Paris in the 1900s? These are all very, very narrow sets of experiences. And even then, even when you narrow them all the way down to the human level, your life seems huge. It's glorious. It's expansive. It doesn't matter how small you get in this world. Have you noticed? Your scientists are noticing. It doesn't matter how small you get. The reality is robust. It's infinite. It doesn't matter how much you shrink your view. Reality doesn't shrink. It's always immersive. And so it doesn't matter how specific your life gets, you get to have this incredibly rich, detailed, robust life. Now, why are we telling you all of this? Because it doesn't matter what adventure you have chosen. It doesn't matter what story you have lived, what story you plan to live. You can make it better. There's no rule that says that you need to live forever as a penniless woman in 1900s France. If any of you are penniless women in 1900s France, listen up. You don't have to be that way forever. You've likely learned what you needed to learn. And it may be time for you to have a couple dollars to your name. It may be time for you to spin up a whirlwind tale of romance where you end up living in the upper echelons of society. It may be time for you to spin up an adventure where you roam to the Americas, or to Nepal, or where you go on a spiritual journey and discover who you are within. You can have any adventure that you wish. You can have any story that you wish. Does that sound like fun? Does that sound exciting? It's not dissimilar to a movie where a character has had one set of experiences. They grew up in one place, they've lived one certain way. Maybe they've grown up in many places, they've moved around and they've always wanted to settle down. Then something big occurs, the story changes, an adventure ensues. And if it's an honest movie, it usually shows, or an honest story in a novel, it usually covers that an adventure can be very uncomfortable. And this is why most of us, most of you, never choose to have great adventures, because the adventures are very uncomfortable. And there are very old physiological, biological systems in place in the form that you attracted when you came here to a three-dimensional world, systems in place in that form that help you, that compel you powerfully to avoid discomfort. You can imagine that evolving on this planet as all physical forms did. This is another discussion, but we'll touch on it here, that your spirit came here from a divine realm. The creationists and the evolutionists are both correct. Your spirit is divine. It's connected to God. It's one with God, and it was created by God. Your physical form, the house that your spirit is able to draw around itself here in the physical realm, evolved here over time. Which is why it's so clear that we're spiritual beings, and at the same time, we are so compelled, you are so compelled by your evolutionary history and your evolutionary biology. The evolutionary biology within you, the only way living organisms could evolve here on this planet is if they were predisposed to avoid pain and to seek pleasure. And there's a lot of pain if you look at it in the wrong way, in an adventure. You find yourself out in the woods, you're looking for treasure, there are mosquitoes, there are snakes, there's sweat, it's hot, you're tired, you are thirsty. Sitting in your house and watching a really good episode of your favorite show would be a lot more comfortable. And so most humans find themselves trapped. They build a life around themselves that is very comfortable. They work at a level that brings them enough joy. They're comfortable at their job. They're comfortable with the wages that they make. They're comfortable with the way they live their life, and they're not looking to shake things up. And you end up feeling dissatisfied, and in some cases, worthless. At the end of your lives, sometimes you wonder what it was all for, what it all meant. You often wonder, why am I here? Because you're not really being here. You've created a comfortable story around yourself. You've created a box, and you live in that box, and you wonder, why am I here? What you're really asking is, why am I here in this box? What we want you to hear today, dear ones, is that you can leave the box. There are an infinite number of ways that you can leave the box. There are an infinite number of adventures that you can go on, and you don't have to write the entire adventure. Your guides, your particular brand of guidance is perfect for you. It's waiting, and it will help to co-create with you the best adventure that you could possibly dream of, better than you could possibly dream. When you set out to have an adventure, when you open up and say, I will follow my destiny, there's so much in the media these days, there's so much on YouTube, there's so much in social media especially, about following your bliss, following your excitement, doing what it is, following your passion, doing what it is that you feel like you were meant to do, finding what you were meant to do. And when you set out to do that, an adventure begins to unfold before you, the likes of which you could not have imagined, you would not have imagined because you don't have the imagination for it, and that you still have a great deal of control over. Imagine having set before you an adventure such as you would read in a story or see in a great movie, and at the same time you are able to set waypoints for it. Did any of you ever have a GPS navigation system where you could say, I want to go from where I am to Cincinnati, Ohio, but I want to stop here at this city, and here at this city I want to see the world's largest ball of twine, I want to go here, I want to go there. You can set waypoints, and it would route you through those points. This adventure of your life is the same way. You can say, I want to unfold to my highest passion, my highest ever-evolving desire, to the highest value that I can be to mankind, to the most that I can give to others, to the most that I can receive. I want to have a life like I've only barely ever dreamed of, but I want to live in a very beautiful place. I want to live in a rural area. I want to live maybe on the West Coast or somewhere exotic. I want to meet the love of my life and have a love affair mixed into this adventure. I want to have many love affairs mixed into this adventure. I want to have riches beyond my dreams. I want to have no riches. I've always wanted to be a pauper, this thing inside me. I want to be an ascetic. I've always wanted to go from temple to temple. I've always wanted to teach. I've always wanted to skydive. I've always wanted to cut my way through a jungle. It doesn't matter what the adventure is that you've wanted, and it can come to you as you go. You can write this adventure as you are living it. You can have it. And all of it will come to you on your way to being the highest, fullest expression of who you are inside. So that, have you heard the expression before, or the concept before, that all you have to do is find what you love to do and get very good at it and continue doing what it is that you love to do, and then the money will come and then you will be rewarded? That you don't have to find what gives you a great deal of money and then do that forever. This is the same idea. You will be guided on this adventure to higher and greater expressions of yourself until you reach a point where you can't hold abundance, abundance of wealth, and abundance of all good things away from yourself any longer, no matter how hard you try. You will be so valuable to humanity. You will be so perfectly in your niche that you will be, God will be flowing, light will be flowing, high energy will be flowing through you in such great amounts. Imagine living perfectly in unison with Source, with the universe, with God. Imagine knowing where to go, knowing what to do, meeting the right people, connecting in the right way, being at the right place at the right time, finding exactly what you needed to find, having the inspiration, getting the idea, knowing how to solve the problem, knowing what the solution is to the next problem and you haven't even encountered the problem yet. And then imagine that somehow in that you weren't taken care of. It just wouldn't happen. You will be taken care of. Everything will sort itself out. You will be supported. You will be guided. You will never be alone. And it will be more fun, more satisfying, more exciting, more revelatory, more blissful, more joyful, more delicious than any book, than any movie, and you'll be right at the center of it. It will also be, at times, more difficult, more uncomfortable, more painful. You'll have to dig through more of your baggage. There's no way to be a hero in an adventure and not go on the hero's journey. You will face your demons, but you don't have to be afraid of them. You can make friends. You can fight them. You can run from them for a while if you like. You can struggle with them forever. You can transcend them on the first day. It's all about what is best for your adventure and what's best for your learning. We'll get personal. Jared thought he was going to transcend his demons. His first spiritual teacher was Eckhart Tolle. And he thought, like Eckhart, I will just simply step above. I'll do it all in one fell swoop, and I will rise above and beyond my demons. I'll leave everything behind. Surprise, that's not how it happened. Jared is love. He knows he's love. He forgets that he's love. He remembers that he is love. At his deepest levels, he just finds more and more and more love. There's nothing under that. The further you dig, the more powerful the love. That's what he's got inside. And so what he didn't know until recently was that he could love his demons. He loved his angels, he loved his guides, and he lived in fear of lower vibrational energies, especially with the channeling. He was always afraid of encountering a lower vibrational being. He had heard whispers of rumors, of tales, of negative channeling experiences. And he lived with some fear there. And now he has transcended his demons. He still lives with some of them, but they don't bother him so because he loves them now. Some of his demons he almost feels he keeps as pets. He keeps around certain things. Have you ever had something like this? Like, you know it would be better for your entire career if you were to quit playing video games entirely, or if you were to stop sleeping in, but these are small personality quirks that you enjoy and that you just keep around. It's the same way with him now, except there's no hatred, there's no fear, there's no struggle, and it's just one more step on his path. Eventually they'll be gone completely from his experience. But for now, his angers, his resentments, his fears, they are met within by so much love and appreciation and acceptance. It's a newfound relationship with who he is, with his past, and who his body has evolved to be, and how his mind has evolved. Something he never imagined, and it's more peaceful than he ever knew he could be. These are the kinds of experiences that you can have, and they're not difficult. Sometimes they take time. Sometimes they take work. But you will no longer be forcing your way through your experience. You will be guided through your experience by the wisest beings that you are likely to be able to imagine. We're talking about your ancient ancestors. We're talking about your angelic guides, your archangelic guides. We're talking about extraterrestrials, if that happens to be part of your excitement and part of your experience. There's so much love here for you. There's so much guidance here for you. There's so much help here for you. There is such a great deal of consideration here for you. You're gonna love this adventure. Keep tuning in. Keep watching. Learn how fun it can be. Learn how exciting it can be. Learn how easy it can be. How rewarding it can be. How far-reaching it can be. How smooth and how bumpy. And how wonderful. Discovering your guides and living enmeshed with them as a blended being can be. We'll be talking to you more very soon. We look forward to it. Until then. Well, that was wonderful. I'm gonna go back and watch it myself. I'm there for all of it, but it just flows through so naturally that I'm not analyzing every word, and I honestly can't wait to. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another story and another channeled session. I love you.